So I saw The Flash, and guess what? It was fucking terrible. First of all, the biggest problem with this movie is Ezra Miller. He is really annoying in this movie. I didn't mind The Flash in Justice League, or at least I didn't mind him in the Zack Snyder version. I know a lot of people have their gripes with him. His little cameo in Suicide Squad wasn't too bad either, but when you actually give this kid the limelight and you take this character who virtually no one cares about and you give him his own movie with this particular personality, he's just fucking annoying. I don't know what it is. Maybe it has something to do with just what a terrible person Ezra Miller is in real life. I don't know. I think the way the character's written is pretty bad as well. They do actually poke fun at the fact that yes, he is irritating, but that doesn't excuse him being irritating. And to make it even worse, they put two of them. It's just, Look, the multiverse gimmick, it's still okay. Across the Spider-Verse did a great job. No Way Home did a fantastic job. I'm sure Beyond the Spider-Verse is going to be fantastic too, but it's just wearing off. I feel like after Beyond the Spider-Verse, just no one's going to care anymore. All this multiversal timeline stuff genuinely is just an excuse to bring back people from old movies that died or just stopped appearing in the movies. All this fan service, all this nostalgia. Again, Across the Spider-Verse did it in a pretty good way, but this film does it to an excruciatingly insulting degree. Hey look, it's Nicolas Cage as Superman, who I actually thought maybe was going to have a proper scene in the movie and maybe give us some actual dialogue or whatever, but he just doesn't do it. Oh look, they got Christopher Reeve and that Supergirl girl to show up in a really disrespectful and horrible looking CGI recreation scene. Hey, Adam West is referenced in a little bit there. Speaking of CGI, this movie is fucking ugly and repulsive visually. I do not care what the director says. If this was intentional, that's worse. If it wasn't intentional and it's just terrible special effects, then it would be a bit more understandable. But you're just lying to us and excusing this awful looking fucking garbage film. It somehow looks worse than the original Justice League. Somehow worse. It isn't as ugly. Like, the color palette of this movie's fine. It's shot reasonably well, I guess. But the CGI is so fucking bad. It's mind-bogglingly bad. I actually physically cannot believe that major blockbusters can still look this fucking terrible. It genuinely looks like a PlayStation game, and not a good one. It looks like a really creepy one with facial motion capture. It's disturbing. It's disgusting. I hate it. If this was like a weird experimental horror film, then yeah, maybe it could be brushed off as intentional, weird and creepy looking. But everything just feels fake. And the Flash is supposed to be a really fun, interesting character. We want scenes like the ones that Quicksilver had in the X-Men movies, but they're really dull and other times they're just really stupid. There are a couple of neat little action bits here and there, especially during the headache-inducing, chaotic fucking desert fight scene, which feels like it goes on for like 3 days for some reason. I guess Zod is just focusing all of his firepower on this one little spot while the big ship does the rest. Yeah, it's really stupid. The opening fight scene is really rushy and weird and just out of nowhere. This film feels so unnatural. And the weird baby rescuing slowed down time scene, it's so fucking weird. Like, why? They're babies and there's like a dog, and it just felt really bizarre and creepy. It was like something that came out of the mind of a really high, mentally disturbed Ezra Miller. I feel like that was a scene that he wrote and was like, this is gonna look so great. I'm gonna be rescuing all these babies and one of them's gonna be in a microwave. I'm gonna do a funny joke where the microwave dings and I'm like, oh, the baby's still in the microwave. But you know what that implies to me? That implies to me that you just put a baby in a working microwave, and if you left it in there for a minute longer, its fucking head would have exploded. That's not funny. That's disturbing. That's really disturbing. I'm being serious. They do the whole microwave ding thing when he puts a baby in the microwave from the falling building so he can safely catch it or whatever, and the microwave dings. And it's like a whole minute has passed. So really the baby's head should have exploded. It's creepy. It's weird. It's disturbing. I mean, Ben Affleck gets a somewhat nice conclusion as Batman, but I guess that doesn't matter because he's appearing in the Aquaman movie anyway, even though Michael Keaton was supposed to appear in the Aquaman movie, but but that just confused people, and then they changed all the DC plans, so they removed Michael Keaton and put Ben Affleck back in it for some reason. It's all a clusterfuck. But he kind of just has this little moment with Barry, and then he drives off, and then, spoiler warning, apparently Barry still kind of fucked up the timeline a little bit. How this whole film works is that even though Barry is a massive Back to the Future fan, and probably knows that changing the past in any way, no matter what you do, is a really, really, really bad idea, the fucking retard decides to go back and change the past anyway. And that's how everything gets fucked up. Now we have Supergirl. Now Bruce Wayne is the Batman from 1989. And to be honest, Michael Keaton is the best part of this movie. You really can't tell that he hasn't played the role in almost 30 years, or I think it has been 30 years already actually. He just slips right back into it like a perfectly fitting leather glove. It's honestly amazing to watch. But then again, it kind of means nothing. During the big climactic fight scene, and yeah, there are spoilers involved in this, I do apologise, but I hate this movie, so I'm just kind of rambling about it. He dies once, as does Supergirl, and then the two Barrys go back and they save them, but then they die anyway through different means, and Barry's like, oh no, this is an inconsequential bit of the time stream that we just can't change, like no matter what happens they're always gonna die. It kind of felt like they were trying to give this Batman a nice little conclusion to his story that I guess he didn't get 30 years ago because fucking Val Kilmer took over the role, but you don't really feel it. It's like they were going for this whole father-son dynamic, I guess like Tony Stark and Peter Parker, but it just doesn't work, and it's not really fleshed out at all. Oh yeah, and there's that fucking ridiculous scene where the original Barry tries to get his powers back after he lost them, and then Supergirl just decides, oh, I'm gonna come back and help you guys now because I saw Zod killing a bunch of people, even though 5 minutes ago I expressed that I don't care about human beings. Oh, but the Flash, like, saved my life. Like, he's such a good guy. Like, he's just such a hero. He saw that I was in need, so he tried to help me. Like, oh my god, I'm so motivated now. And to be honest, the woman playing Supergirl actually does a pretty good job, but here's my problem with that. This movie feels like a movie that's been delayed for 2 years. It feels like a movie that's had 6 or 7 directors. It feels like a movie that's had at least 18 different drafts of its script. It feels like a movie that, due to a new plan set in motion by the new creative controllers at DC Studios, has been edited and or changed in some way to fit into those plans a little better. For example, the Supergirl movie was cancelled. Michael Keaton's grand return as Batman was cancelled. Ezra Miller continuing to play the Flash might not happen, although it probably will, apparently. So it really feels like an inconsequential, stupid, clusterfuck, snappily edited film that they just had to release because they had to make some money back, even if it wasn't even near enough to break even, and I'm honestly very happy about that. This film deserves every little bit of failure it's going to get, and probably has already gotten. Henry Cavill's cameo was cut, so, you know, we can't even get a nice conclusion with him. The last time we see him, he's just about to confront one of his greatest enemies ever. But to be fair, The Rock's ego kind of ruined that one. Another cardinal sin that this film commits is just, it's so painfully unfunny. The jokes in this movie, I think I laughed maybe 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 if I'm being generous, because there was just the occasional joke that was a bit like, But most of the time I was sitting there and I was staring at it. I was in an empty cinema, nobody else was laughing, seemed like nobody was even having a fucking good time, to be honest. I was kind of enjoying how terrible it was, but nothing about the film, almost nothing at least, is funny. Most of it is fucking terrible. Stuff that is supposed to be funny and you can tell they were leading up to it and setting it up and making a big punchline out of it, it just doesn't fucking work. It's awful. It's cringeworthy. And I don't know if it's the delivery or the script itself or maybe a combination of both, but it is just awful. I don't know why people keep hiring this woman to write movies because she just can't do it. Christina Hodgson, I think her name is. Yeah, look, I'm sorry, but everything she's written is bad. Like, literally everything. I can't think off the top of my head one good script that she's written. All the films that are genuinely bad. And people wonder why these films fail, because they keep hiring the same fucking idiots to write them and direct them and produce them over and over and don't learn from this. I honestly would rather see Zack Snyder's vision fulfilled or just forget all of this shit and just move on to what James Gunn wants to do, because I'm actually getting sick of this universe now. It died when Justice League died, okay? That's it. That was the end. That was when they should have just reset it and forgot everything. Or just given Shazam his own cinematic universe. That would have been fine. But I guess no one likes Shazam, so fuck it, right? Oh yeah, they shoved the Dark Flash into the movie. That was really dumb and stupid and bad. He was way too easy to defeat. He's like the ultimate Flash villain and he just dies within 10 minutes of meeting him. It's like, I'm I'm the one that pushed you out of that portal. Yeah, no shit, was that supposed to be a plot twist? Just the whole time travel thing, the whole everything, trying to have like an emotional core of his dad not being the mum's murderer or whatever. Did not care about any of that, by the way. I don't care about this character. They've done nothing to develop him. The build-up just wasn't there. Marvel, you can argue they had a bit of a build-up. Even the Dark Knight trilogy, like, that was a trilogy. That had a story it was building up to and concluding. These new Batman movies coming out, it actually seems like a kind of well thought out and focused plan of what they want to do with Batman and his characters and Robert Pattinson as Batman. I don't know why they don't just focus their attention on that. I guess they don't want to. They gotta have another universe as well. What works about No Way Home is we got to know these characters for years. We got to know this new Peter Parker. Even if it was only, like 5 years, we still got to know him pretty well. We already knew Tobey Maguire. We already knew Andrew Garfield. Think what you will of him. At least it was nice and exciting to see him come back and conclude his story in a satisfying way. I can't say that about Supergirl. I can't say that about the other Barry. General Zod sucks in this movie. The character just isn't there. Again, think what you will of Man of Steel. At least that film made an attempt to give him an arc, to give him a story, to give him a personal connection. Without establishing and further fleshing out and developing the relationship him and Supergirl are supposed to have, you don't give a shit. Without Henry Cavill's Man of Steel there, you don't give a shit. Zod just shows up. People like to say in the original film he was just some shouting idiot who liked to blow stuff up. He had something of a character, he had a motivation, he wanted to bring his people back or whatever, that's something. And again, he does that in this movie, but they take no time fleshing it out because they just expect us, 10 years later, to just remember it and connect to it because we already experienced it in a better movie 10 years ago, and still a movie that not a lot of people liked that much, which I did for the record. I don't mind Man of Steel, but my point is, this movie genuinely infuriated me. Please don't watch it, or you will suffer the same bout of bipolar depression that I do. That is literally what this film did to me. Fuck you, Ezra Miller. Fuck you, everybody. Oh yeah, George Clooney is apparently Batman again. That was pretty funny. That was like the one surprise they actually managed to keep under wraps until the film came out. Good for you guys. That's the one thumbs up I'm giving you. It was an abysmal experience, and afterwards I went out and got blackout drunk and tried to forget the whole experience. And while it was a very fun evening, it actually ended up being a really terrible one towards the end, and I can't help but kind of blame this movie. It's cursed. And I'm giving this film a 2 or 3 out of 10. It was originally a 3, but after sitting down and talking about it, it might actually be a 2. I don't know. I guess I liked Michael Keaton too much, and I thought Supergirl was okay, but I don't know. It's a 3 for now, but it might go down to a 2. Who knows? Thank you.